In a mysterious world, a carriage transports two girls, seemingly taken as slaves. Sarah, one of the girls, has her body exposed, worrying her sister Rora, who urges her to cover up. However, their attention is diverted by the unexpected appearance of a dragon soaring above them. Even the carriage riders display fear at the sight of the monstrous creature roaring in the sky. The girls ponder why the dragon has appeared, wondering if it sympathizes with their plight. Despite their confusion, these girls are not the primary focus of the story, and the scene shifts to Tokyo, Japan, in an alternate world. Here, an old man berates a boy named Ryoma, also known as Ryu, who seems to be the student of the old man, serving as his sensei. The old man challenges Ryu to a life-threatening battle, offering his wealth if Ryu can take his life. This proposition intrigues Ryu, and tensions escalate as both samurai warriors prepare for a deadly confrontation. The battle commences with intense fervor, and Ryu impresses with remarkable moves, almost managing to fatally wound his sensei by aiming for his throat. In the aftermath of Ryu's aggressive attack, the old man, although upset, acknowledges Ryu's adherence to his teachings. The young samurai insists that in such a confrontation, a true samurai would even confront their own parents. Though impressed by Ryu's skill, the sensei, being the master, demonstrates lethal moves known for their potential to end a battle in a single blow. Despite this, Ryu remains undeterred, fully committed to the match. However, before the outcome is revealed, the scene shifts to Asuka, a cheerful girl, preparing breakfast for both Ryu and his sensei. Asuka casually inquires if the men were having fun with each other, unintentionally offending Ryu, who clarifies that their engagement was about ending each other, not having fun. His response prompts Asuka to playfully smack him on the head, believing he's joking. It becomes evident that Asuka has feelings for Ryu, and the sensei addresses this, referring to Asuka as Ryu's wife. Asuka denies any romantic involvement, but her grandpa humorously suggests she indulges in roleplay with her lover boy, causing an awkward moment for Asuka. However, Ryu remains composed. Amidst the teasing, the sensei asks Ryu if he has a romantic rival, implying Asuka's interest in him and teasing the possibility of a love triangle. As the conversation between Ryu and his sensei grows intense, the old man adamantly warns Ryu against anyone attempting to lay hands on Asuka, instructing him not to hold back even if it means taking their lives. This sparks a heated exchange between the two, but Asuka, fed up with their banter, decides to head off to school. At Ryu's school, he stands out due to his imposing height and muscular build, making him quite popular. A girl approaches him, inviting him to join the karate club with an innocent plea, yet Ryu declines, despite her persistence. She remains optimistic, believing Ryu will eventually agree. Meanwhile, other students discuss Ryu's strength and express their desire for him to join various clubs. However, Ryu is conflicted, primarily due to his sensei's teachings about striking with intent. He fears that his power might inadvertently cause serious harm or even take someone's life during a sparring session, which prevents him from joining any clubs. He ascends to the rooftop for lunch, prepared by Asuka, feeling uncomfortable with her efforts for him. While eating, Ryu ponders the consequences of losing control during a fight, realizing that even accidental harm could result in serious legal consequences, potentially leading to imprisonment if he inadvertently injures or worse, kills someone. At that precise moment, a massive energy circle materializes around Ryu, whisking him away from his familiar world into an entirely different realm. To his surprise, he finds himself surrounded by a group of ancient-looking warrior knights, all elated by the success of the summoning. They express their delight at Ryu's formidable physique, seeing him as a powerful addition. The wizard responsible for the summoning, named Gaietsu, eyes Ryu warily, cautioning against judging him solely by his appearance, and hastily orders the men to curse Ryu before it's too late. Perplexed by the abrupt change from his school environment, Ryu senses the hostile intent of one of the knights in the room. Unwilling to take any chances, he decides to leverage surprise to his advantage. In a sudden recollection of his sensei's teachings on showing mercy to adversaries, Ryu offers food to the attacking knight, utterly bewildering him. This diversion gives Ryu the opening he needs, and he swiftly incapacitates the assailant with his punches. Seizing the knight's sword, Ryu continues his onslaught, displaying impressive combat skills despite facing an armored opponent. With calculated moves, he manages to hold his ground against the heavily protected knight, showcasing his prowess in combat. In a turn of events, Ryu faces a surprise attack from another knight while still reeling from the previous skirmish. Swift to react, Ryu pivots just in time to counter the assault. Demonstrating his superior combat skills, he manages to hold his ground against the knights, impressing them with his prowess. However, his dominance doesn't sit well with them, especially irritating Gaietsu, who becomes increasingly agitated. Gaietsu resorts to using a powerful move, invoking a thunderous spell, which catches Ryu's attention. Aware that countering thunder is beyond his abilities, Ryu finds himself attacked simultaneously by a knight, leaving him vulnerable to Gaietsu's impending devastating strike. As Gaietsu releases his finishing move, a visually intense attack, it seems like Ryu has met his match. However, to everyone's surprise, including Gaietsu's, the lightning strike hits the attacking knight instead. It becomes evident that Ryu had used the knight as a shield, emerging unscathed from the devastating attack. Enraged by the mistreatment he's endured, Ryu delivers a forceful punch directly into Gaietsu's chest, causing severe damage and making him cough up blood. With Gaietsu now at his mercy, Ryu demands to know his whereabouts, signaling his shift in the power dynamic. Gaietsu, due to his injuries, can't cast any spells. He informs Ryu that they are now at the Royal Palace in the western part of the central continent. Ryu is surprised and asks for an explanation. Gaietsu reveals that he summoned Ryu, which puzzles him because there shouldn't be magic in Ryu's world. Meanwhile, Ryu inquires about going back to his world. Gaietsu, still focused and impressed by Ryu's determined and aggressive nature, considers the idea of controlling Ryu to fulfill his ambition of conquering the central continent. He's conflicted about what action to take next. This decisive action showcased Ryu's determination and signaled his intent to take control of the situation, compelling Gaietsu to reveal the information he sought. In a critical moment, Gaietsu contemplates his options, realizing that lying to Ryu now and telling the truth later might cost him his life. Knowing his prominence in the kingdom, preserving his life becomes crucial. However, as Gaietsu ponders stalling for time until the guards arrive, Ryu is impatient and decides to check the wizard's pulse. Sensing Gaietsu's heightened heart rate, Ryu deduces that Gaietsu lacks the means to send him back to Earth. Forced into a vulnerable position, Gaietsu admits his inability to fulfill Ryu's return. Anxious and hoping for his lung to recover in time to cast a spell, Gaietsu intends to eliminate Ryu. Using his wit, Ryu realizes that Gaietsu never intended to send him back alive if he only possessed the ability to summon him. Seeking clarity about his purpose in this unfamiliar world, Ryu demands answers from Gaietsu. The wizard explains that individuals like Ryu possess high absorption powers, often summoned for this reason. Shocked by this revelation, Ryu learns that humans brought into this world can absorb the powers of those they encounter. This information leaves him taken aback, but Gaietsu has managed to stall enough time and his lung has recovered, allowing him to chant the spell once more. Yet, Ryu proves too swift for Gaietsu's attempt to unleash another thunderous spell. Reacting swiftly, Ryu delivers a final, decisive punch to the wizard, thwarting Gaietsu's efforts to cast the spell and ending their confrontation. Gaietsu's condition worsens, leaving him in a dire state, and Ryu acknowledges that in this world, his actions wouldn't be categorized as self-defense as they might be back on Earth. Meanwhile, a young and charming girl, Syria, approaches the knights, pleading with them to check on Gaietsu, her grandfather. However, the knights explain that the laws prohibit them from intervening in the summoning process due to its utmost secrecy among the world's techniques. Syria, deeply concerned about the prolonged duration of the summoning, expresses her worries. The commander of the knights, Rolf, attempts to reassure her, urging her to remain composed. Syria, unable to tolerate any failure on her grandfather's part, insists that something might have gone wrong. Rolf, recognizing the gravity of Syria's emotions, reminds her to calm down. Despite her initial outburst, Syria apologizes for her behavior, but Rolf reassures her, acknowledging her rightful concern since she's related to Gaietsu by blood. Empowered by Rolf's understanding, Syria embraces her determination, asserting that even grand-level magicians are prone to mistakes. She prepares to unleash one of her most potent and dangerous moves, prompting Rolf to caution his men to step back if they value their safety. Without hesitation, Syria unleashes a mighty flame blast of immense power, causing extensive damage to the steel door before her, showcasing her formidable abilities and determination to ensure her grandfather's well-being. Intrigued by Syria's powerful fire blast, Rolf recognizes the limitations of the attack against the steel door. However, he's astounded when Syria follows up with a freeze spell, causing the door to crumble into tiny pieces. Rolf admires Syria's proficiency, acknowledging the rarity of mastering both fire and ice spells. With the door finally breached, Syria gives Rolf the go-ahead to proceed. Taking command, Rolf instructs his men to cautiously enter the hallway to check on Gaietsu. The team remains vigilant, wary of potential encounters with demons or monsters. Their arrival presents a harrowing scene. Defeated men and lifeless bodies litter the area. Amidst these grim sights, Syria confronts the devastating reality of finding her own grandfather among the casualties. Overwhelmed with sorrow, she is speechless and in tears. However, Rolf shifts his attention to a wounded knight barely clinging to life. Recognizing the possibility of uncovering the truth, Rolf reassures the knight, urging him to hold on. Despite the knight's limited ability to speak, he manages to utter only the word monster. Rolf immediately orders his men to rush the injured knight to the infirmary, hoping to extract more information. He comforts the wounded man, assuring him of survival and advising him not to speak for the time being. As events unfold, it's revealed that the survivor's response holds more complexity. The wounded knight unexpectedly smiles upon hearing Rolf's encouragement, hinting that there might be more to his identity than initially perceived. This reaction suggests the possibility that the survivor might indeed be the disguised hero withholding his true identity. Syria, having overcome her sorrow over losing Gaisu, begins to employ her detective skills. She recognizes that Gaietsu was an immensely powerful wizard in the kingdom, making it likely that only a special type of creature could have ended his life. Reviewing the autopsy reports of the other knights, she notices they were all killed by someone using their bare hands. This puzzles her because she knows of no monster with hands. Additionally, there's no trace of this mysterious beast in the castle. Rolf, equally surprised by the deaths, notes that all the knights wore strong armor, making it seem impossible for a creature to overpower them. However, the autopsies reveal finger marks on some soldiers' necks and skull fractures from behind on others, suggesting a ruthless and powerful monster. Rolf struggles to make sense of the situation, especially when the surviving knight refers to the culprit as a monster. He wonders if the humans summoned from another world could be the disguised monster, although humans are generally considered weak upon entering this realm. Lacking substantial evidence, Rolf plans to extract answers from the culprit once captured. Before he can delve further into his thoughts, a knight rushes into the room, announcing an emergency. Rolf notices something is wrong and discovers that the infirmary has been unexpectedly damaged by a fire. It's revealed that someone intentionally set fire to the infirmary. Meanwhile, a young man is admiring flowers in the garden and notices the fire in the infirmary. The knights panic and seek a magician's help. This is when the young man, named Orlando, unveils his impressive powers by summoning a water storm to extinguish the fire. Sarai arrives with Rolf and demands to know what happened. Orlando, despite his efforts to help, is put in a difficult situation as Sarai doesn't value information she can figure out herself. However, Orlando convinces her that he doesn't know much about the situation. Sarai then shifts her attention to the surviving knight taken to the infirmary. Orlando remains clueless. They then focus on the Imperial doctor, Ronbelt, who reveals that the soldier at the infirmary was not who they thought and had caused the death of Ronbelt's son, Aaron. Ronbelt, while drinking, narrates the events that unfolded in the infirmary. In a quick flashback, we witness an injured knight being brought to Aaron by another knight. Despite the urgency of treating the wounded man, Aaron seeks help from his father, Ronbelt, who is more focused on drinking than on aiding the patient. Disappointed by his father's neglect, Aaron takes charge of the situation. He instructs the knight to remove the patient's armor, but things take a terrible turn as the injured man unexpectedly wakes up and fatally stabs the knight. Shocked and frightened, Aaron attempts to escape, crying out for help. Unfortunately, the patient, revealed to be Ryu, catches Aaron and begins choking him. Despite Aaron's pleas and confusion, Ryu, having absorbed powers from others in this world, overpowers him. In a desperate attempt to prevent Aaron from revealing his whereabouts, Ryu demands an escape route from Aaron, who complies out of fear. However, Ryu, believing he's summoned only as a slave, decides to break Aaron's neck to silence him, as he perceives him as a threat to his own safety in this world. This intense and tragic sequence showcases Ryu's ruthless nature and his belief that he's been summoned against his will, driving him to drastic actions to ensure his own survival. In the aftermath of Ryu's destructive actions, he purposefully starts a fire using medical supplies, leading to an eventual explosion. Returning to the present, Dr. Ronbelt informs Syria and Rolf of the urgency to apprehend the culprit before they escape. Eager to take swift action, Syria commands Orlando to use his magic while instructing Rolf to gather his men. However, Orlando is unsure of what specifically Syria wants, frustrating her. Dr. Ronbelt advises Orlando to comply with Syria's orders to capture the culprit effectively. Agreeing, Orlando inquires about the power level he should employ. Syria urges him to exert maximum power, emphasizing the formidable nature of their adversary. Utilizing his teleportation ability, which impresses Dr. Ronbelt, Orlando swiftly teleports, showcasing his abilities as the third-ranked magician and a former student of Gaisu, meeting Syria's expectations. Syria then decides to teleport Rolf to the barracks to prepare his men, but Rolf reminds her that she needs the king's permission for such actions. This prompts Syria to recall her need to meet the king regarding the monster situation, delegating responsibilities to Dr. Ronbelt in her absence. With Syria planning to meet the king and Rolf organizing their forces, Dr. Ronbelt is left in charge of managing the ongoing situation in their pursuit of the elusive culprit. After Rolf agrees to Syria teleporting him to prepare the troops, she summons a portal and departs, leaving Dr. Ronbelt alone to cope with his grief by indulging in drinking. Meanwhile, Syria uses her teleportation ability to arrive at the royal guard stationed in front of the throne room, startling the knights with her sudden appearance. Despite their warnings that using magic in the royal castle could cost her life, Syria disregards the threat and reveals her identity to the guards. Recognizing her, they acknowledge her status and she demands an urgent audience with the king. The guards inquire about her purpose, provoking Syria's anger, leading her to threaten them with fire magic if they don't comply. Fearing her power, the guards relent and open the door, granting Syria entry into the throne room where King Lionel Eisenhart sits alongside his chancellor, Doltnest. Although the situation is serious, Doltnest scolds Syria for her lack of respect toward the king, questioning the absence of the first-ranked magician for such an urgent matter. Annoyed by Doltnest's behavior, King Lionel intervenes, urging the chancellor to cease his rudeness. Doltnest tries to justify his behavior, claiming Syria's dramatic entrance was unnecessary, but the king silences him, indicating that enough is enough. Known as the Lion Emperor, King Lionel Eisenhart holds authority in the realm, and his intervention curbs Doltnest's further commentary. King Lionel's title and demeanor reflect his authority and nickname within the kingdom as the Lion Emperor. Following King Eisenhart's intervention, Doltnest apologizes for his previous behavior and remains silent. Syria then requests to take command of the royal guard, surprising Doltnest, who attempts to ridicule her once more. However, King Eisenhart allows Syria to explain and justify her request. In response, Doltnest, taken aback, struggles to respond, while the king expresses a willingness to consider Syria's proposal if she can convince him of her capability. Meanwhile, Syria discloses the tragic news that her grandfather, Gaietsu, has been murdered, leaving the king and Doltnest stunned. However, the scene swiftly shifts to Ryu, our hero, who reflects on Gaietsu's suspicious behavior towards him. He senses something amiss in Gaietsu's intentions for summoning him to this world but decides to prioritize escaping the castle. To do so, he disguises himself as one of the knights to evade detection. As the tension rises with Syria's shocking revelation and Ryu's attempt to flee in disguise, the true motives behind Gaietsu's summoning of Ryu remain a mystery, prompting further intrigue in the unfolding events. In a brief flashback, more of Ryu's conversation with Gaietsu is revealed. Ryu sought clarification about why humans are frequently summoned to this world, particularly when they might not excel in combat skills like swordsmanship. Gaietsu explained that humans possess a unique ability to become the ultimate warriors in this realm by absorbing the powers of those they defeat. However, this process operates on a different kind of logic. To acquire the strength of one human, Ryu would need to eliminate 1,000 humans. Similarly, to gain the strength of a single dragon, he would have to defeat 100 dragons. Though Ryu defeated knights in the dungeon, he hasn't absorbed all their powers because he needs to defeat many more individuals to gain such abilities. Returning to the present, Ryu contemplates this newfound knowledge. While the prospect of gaining immense strength is enticing, he grapples with the reality of being in a foreign world, separated from his mentor and Asuka. Furthermore, he's a wanted fugitive in this realm, making him a target for everyone. Fortunately, Ryu shows his cleverness by discarding the stolen armor outside the city. He now calmly enjoys lunch inside the city, knowing that the soldiers will assume he attempted to escape, diverting attention from his actual whereabouts. As Ryu navigates this new reality and strategizes his next moves, the complexity of gaining strength in this world and the challenges he faces as a wanted man become his foremost concerns. Ryu, having stolen money from the knights he defeated, manages to buy new clothes to blend in. However, being in an alternate world leaves him unsure of what to do next. To lift his spirits, a woman approaches him, noticing he's a newcomer. She assumes he might be a traveler and offers him a lot of beer, surprising Ryu as he hadn't ordered any. Despite his surprise, the woman insists on treating him as it's her break and Ryu looks like someone who enjoys a drink. Though he feels a bit embarrassed, being only 16 but appearing older, Ryu thanks her for the gesture, earning praise for his politeness. Curious about being called a good guy, Ryu inquires, prompting the woman to compliment his polite demeanor. Engaging in small talk, she asks if it's his first visit to the capital city, to which Ryu responds affirmatively, adding a touch of drama by mentioning the sudden passing of his parents due to an illness. The woman expresses sympathy and Ryu shares his thoughts of intending to settle in the city. As Ryu navigates this unfamiliar world, his interaction with the woman offers a chance for him to gather information about potential employment opportunities while adapting to his new surroundings. He queries the woman about potential job opportunities and mentions his proficiency with a sword. Ryu, contemplating his options, quickly realizes that pursuing a career as a blacksmith might not be feasible due to his age. Aware of the significance of age in securing employment, he inquires about becoming a merchant. Although the idea seems promising, the woman informs him that he would need to start as an apprentice, which doesn't align with Ryu's desire to only answer to his sensei. Feeling limited in choices, Ryu is then presented with the option of becoming a mercenary or an adventurer, given his sword skills. Intrigued, he seeks more information from the woman, who is initially surprised by his lack of knowledge about adventures. Ryu navigates the conversation to gain a better understanding. He discovers that becoming an adventurer involves signing up at both the guild and the bank, conveniently located near the bar, without the need for identification. Excited about this opportunity, Ryu decides to embark on this new journey, assured by the woman that he's welcome to visit as the bar transforms into the guild's local tavern at night. Eager to start his adventure, Ryu heads to the guild seeking a job. However, when the receptionist asks for his bank card, it reveals his age is 16, which comes as a surprise. Certainly, after the receptionist at the guild is visibly shocked by Ryu's age on the bank card due to his imposing stature, she apologizes for any inadvertent rudeness. Although Ryu verbally reassures her, his body language betrays a sense of discomfort. Despite the awkwardness, they share a humorous moment. Attempting to move past the incident, the receptionist proceeds to explain the guild's structure and operations to Ryu. She elaborates on the guild's branches spread throughout the continent and how adventurers are evaluated based on rank and level. Achievements determine one's rank, while an adventurer's strength and abilities dictate their level. Curious about the concept of absorbing strength, she asks Ryu, who explains what he learned from Gaietsu. The receptionist adds that an adventurer's level indicates the number of people whose strength they've absorbed. Typically, absorbing strength is crucial for advancing levels, but there's an exceptional case where someone reached level 7 solely through their own strength. Puzzled by the level cap at 7, Ryu queries the receptionist, but she suggests he not dwell on such details as he's new to this world. Moving on, she explains the various types of quests available at the guild. Simple tasks like defeating bee monsters or dogs can earn Ryu up to 3 copper coins and advance his rank by 1 for each successful quest. Additionally, there are travel missions that involve escorting individuals to specific destinations. Ryu, currently holding an F rank as an adventurer, has the opportunity to select missions that lead to nearby towns. Opting for a mission heading to Merfolin in the east, he sees this as his chance to discreetly leave the city, considering he's a wanted man aiming to avoid drawing attention. The exit point aligns conveniently near the southern border, compelling him to accept this mission. In preparation for potential encounters, he seeks a sword and visits a weapons shop. However, disappointingly, the world lacks katanas, leaving him no choice but to settle for a long sword. Reflecting on a past conversation at the bar, Ryu recalls the woman questioning if he possesses a weapon. He confidently asserts that his bare hands suffice, which she deems foolish, cautioning that adventurers rarely perish at the hands of larger monsters. Fleeing from them is relatively simple, but carelessness with weaker monsters often leads to fatal consequences. She warns Ryu about the unpredictability of the world beyond the city and advises him to exercise caution. In the midst of this conversation, a man at the bar interrupts, claiming he's planning to purchase the establishment, bringing the flashback to an end. Returning to the present, Ryu remains lost in thought, contemplating his decision regarding the sword. Ryu, acknowledging his lack of knowledge about the swords in this unfamiliar world, humbly asks the shop owner for assistance in finding a suitable weapon. However, the owner reacts defensively, claiming he doesn't possess any such weapon and adopts a condescending attitude toward Ryu. Undeterred, Ryu mentions the recommendation from the woman at the bar, causing an immediate shift in the owner's demeanor. Realizing that Ryu is a novice warrior, the owner expresses shock, questioning what Ryu has been doing with his life considering his mature appearance. Explaining that he just joined the guild on the same day, Ryu reflects on the potential challenges his age and appearance might pose in his new venture. The owner instructs him to wait briefly and emphasizes not to refer to his weapons as merely a handy or suitable. Returning with a dagger, the shop owner observes Ryu's interest in it. Ryu not only appreciates the dagger's design but also astutely identifies that it's crafted using a specific formula, surprising the shop owner. He points out that such daggers, even if made from cheaper materials, are resilient. Seemingly making progress, Ryu notices the owner's shady behavior and his attempt to dismiss Ryu as a young man due to his sharp observation skills. This puzzling behavior prompts Ryu to inquire about a single-edged sword with a curved blade, hoping to find a weapon more aligned with his preferences. Ryu's eyes light up as he instantly identifies the katana, recognizing it as a weapon from another world. Excitedly, he queries the shop owner if there's a katana available, but the owner admits he doesn't know how to craft them. Sensing Ryu's disinterest in the weapons of this world, the owner leads him to a clandestine chamber filled with an array of weapons from other realms. Ryu is impressed by the assortment, which includes nunchucks, side daggers, tonfa, and the three-section staff. However, when Ryu tries using these unfamiliar weapons, he struggles, much to the shop owner's disappointment. Assuring the owner that he has some familiarity with these weapons, albeit not as an expert, Ryu attempts to handle them better. Among the diverse collection are also items like the gabishi, friction lock baton, and the chakuram from ancient India. Ryu tests some of the weapons and manages to handle a few proficiently, impressing the shop owner. Yet, he feels something is amiss and continues trying different ones. Eventually, Ryu decides to acquire a couple of weapons, including the sword, although he plans to stick to using the sword for the time being, considering it as his best option. Satisfied with his choices, he heads back to the bar where the lady welcomes him warmly. Pleased to see Ryu equipped with a fine weapon, she asks if he received the quest letter. Confused, Ryu learns that he was supposed to collect it from the guild. Panic sets in as he realizes he doesn't have the letter with him at that moment. In a surprising turn of events at the bar, a man inquires about Ryu from the lady and learns about the quest letter mishap. Unfazed by the situation, the man reassures Ryu that he can collect the letter from the pleasant receptionist the next day. Grateful for the man's understanding, Ryu expresses his thanks, to which the man casually brushes it off and proceeds to introduce Ryu to the entire bar. The man raises a toast to Ryu, encouraging everyone present to welcome and treat him kindly. The night continues in high spirits, filled with cheer and camaraderie. Later, Ryu relaxes at an inn, having secured a room and appreciating his quick decision to change clothes, allowing him to blend into the town while tensions at the royal castle settle. He reminisces about an instance where guards passed him without recognizing his potential connection to the night's massacre. However, he doesn't take this lightly, evident in his choice of the recent mission. Analyzing his mission companions, Ryu acknowledges Rolf's strength and Syria's versatile magical abilities. He notes Orlando as a capable fighter but focuses his attention on Syria. He senses her strong emotions upon witnessing her deceased grandfather, recognizing her fervent determination to find him. Considering her drive, Ryu likens her to a pivotal piece in a game of chess, akin to a queen. Deciding not to dwell too much on his thoughts, Ryu opts for rest, understanding the importance of preparing himself for the upcoming challenges. In the realm of the royal guard, Princess Shaldina assumes command, leading the group due to her royal status. However, a knight questions the logic behind embarking on what seems like an aimless pursuit. He points out the lack of information regarding Ryu's appearance, prompting speculation if Shaldina possesses any specific intel. In response, Shaldina merely smiles and reassures the knight, stating that it's alright even if she doesn't possess details about Ryu's appearance. Mystifyingly, she expresses confidence that she can somehow sense or perceive Ryu, implying that she will recognize him when they come face to face. Despite the uncertainty and lack of explicit information about Ryu's appearance, Shaldina appears confident in her intuition or perhaps some undisclosed ability to identify him upon encountering him. In the midst of the unfolding events, Princess Shaldina remains composed and strategic in her approach while Syria expresses disagreement with her decisions. Syria is upset because Shaldina calls off the search until the following morning, citing the late hour as a potential danger. However, Syria argues that this delay could allow the culprit to escape. Unwilling to engage in a debate with Syria, Shaldina instructs Orlando to escort her away for the time being. Orlando complies and lifts Syria in a romantic manner, causing her to blush and request him to put her down. However, Orlando struggles to control his thoughts and ends up teleporting them away from the scene, leaving Syria flustered. Meanwhile, Rolf inquires about Shaldina's next plan of action after the chaos with Syria. Shaldina proposes heading east, despite Rolf's reservations as the southern border seems closer to their target. Shaldina admits her decision is partly based on intuition but outlines several reasons indicating the culprit might head east. Despite Rolf's continued concerns about her choice, Shaldina is accompanied by Sadu, the individual who previously questioned her information. Shaldina values Sadu's skills as a formidable fighter, particularly emphasizing his proficiency in supporting from the rear during combat, leading her to request his assistance. Shaldina and Rolf grapple with the challenge of mobilizing forces while being vulnerable to potential attacks from the enemy force, Zaruda. They acknowledge their fortunate situation following Gaietsu's passing, recognizing that typically, nobles might rebel in such circumstances. To avoid squandering their limited options, the two leaders engage in discussions about battle plans and strategic moves. Meanwhile, Ryu is seen testing his new weapons on a group of fierce wolves. Employing the chakra weapons from India, Ryu demonstrates ease in wielding them. Faced with an onslaught from a pack of wolves, Ryu resorts to his sword skills, effectively dispatching them. Remarkably, he manages to eliminate over 50 wild wolves, approximately 30 wild bees, and nearly 40 wild rabbits, a significant feat for a beginner. Presenting his bounty to the reception girl at Merfolin, she expresses amazement at Ryu's accomplishments. Ryu, however, attributes the dulling of his sword to the multitude of attacks he endured. Surprised by Ryu's hunting prowess, the girl had initially believed him to be a magician wielding immense destructive power, only to discover that he's a physically strong individual. Reaping a handsome reward for his efforts, Ryu calculates the monetary value based on his usual lunch expenses, considering it a well-earned compensation for his hard work. Ryu realizes he's earned over 40,000 yen from his mission, feeling content with this good fortune. The girl informs him he's advanced to WF rank, surprising Ryu with his rapid progress. She wonders if he's not pleased about it, but he clarifies his feelings. The girl shares that his rewards will double due to his rank up, expressing confidence in his talent and encouraging him to take on more missions. She adopts a seductive tone, tempting Ryu. He almost gets carried away by his thoughts, but he recalls the advice of the bar lady to be cautious. Recognizing the need to stay grounded, Ryu requests a healing potion from the reception girl. She mentions the high cost of magic-made healing potions, starting at 10 gold coins, equivalent to 1,000,000 yen for just one bottle, which seems exorbitant. Realizing the precariousness of injuries in this world without insurance, Ryu decides to buy a potion for emergencies and an additional sword for protection. However, his thoughts are interrupted by an angry customer at another counter in the guild. An upset adventurer, Goraz, argues with the guild representative, dissatisfied with his reward for taking down a robber. He believes his risk and effort deserve higher compensation. However, the guildman explains that despite Goraz being a first-rank swordsman, he's still a third-rank adventurer. The robber Goraz defeated wasn't part of the wanted Red Moon bandits, and while he was occupied, the actual bandits raided a village, capturing innocent girls. Feeling remorseful, Goraz admits that if he targeted the right bandits, those girls might not have been captured. The guildman avoids a clear response but implies that Goraz should have focused on the intended targets. Worried about the fate of the captured girls, Goraz accepts responsibility for his mistake and requests the guild to penalize him for his actions. Ryu, observing this conversation, is puzzled. The reception girl explains that such incidents occur frequently in their line of work. Ryu labels Goraz's quest a failure, and the guild girl emphasizes the importance of an adventurer's responsibility to investigate their missions thoroughly. She notes that failed quests could lead to disastrous outcomes for innocents, despite Goraz having a kind heart. After reflecting on the consequences of his actions, Ryu realizes that this world doesn't function like a game. Failing quests has real repercussions. Determined to be more responsible, he consults his map and believes he's nearing the town of Aru by heading east. Although he doesn't spot the Red Moon bandits, he suddenly senses something eerie. Meanwhile, the Red Moon bandits celebrate their recent bounty of 300 gold coins and their capture of Sarah and her sister Rora, whom we've encountered earlier. The bandits, shameless and vile, plan to abuse the captured girls. However, one of them frets about their boss discovering their actions. Eventually, they decide not to inform their boss about these girls, intending to dispose of them after exploiting them. These girls were previously abandoned by their former master when encountered with a dragon. Ryu arrives at the scene and identifies these bandits as his new targets. Despite the girls' attempts to resist by threatening to harm themselves, they are powerless due to the slave collars they're forced to wear, preventing them from fighting back against the unsavory bandits. As the bandits prepare to exploit the girls based on their hair colors, Ryu reaches his boiling point. Unable to tolerate their shamelessness any longer, he unleashes his pent-up rage upon witnessing their vile intentions. Sarah and her sister mentally brace themselves for the impending horror. However, before the bandits can attack, they are suddenly ambushed by an unseen force. Confused, the girls witness Ryu in action, displaying his exceptional sword skills. Despite the bandits' attempts to intimidate him by claiming their dangerous gang status, Ryu remains unfazed. He discards his sword and takes on the bandits barehanded, employing both his fists and a collection of weapons. In a display of superior strength and skill, Ryu easily overwhelms the bandits, leaving Sarah and her sister in awe as they watch their rescuer defend their honor fiercely. After swiftly defeating the bandits, Ryu checks on the girls to ensure they are unharmed. His display of raw power leaves the girls astonished, gazing at him with admiration and wonder. Ryu rescued the girls and retrieved his sword, feeling accomplished. Rora noticed a slight cut on Ryu's cheek and wiped away the blood, but Ryu insisted he was fine. Sarah and Rora then formally introduced themselves as twins. Ryu was excited but composed, prioritizing the girls' well-being. They expressed gratitude for their rescue, but Ryu hesitated to accept it. He admitted waiting for the right moment to disarm the enemies, causing discomfort to the girls. However, Sarah and Rora appreciated his caution and were just thankful to be free. Observing the twins, Ryu noticed their attractive features but was interrupted by their concern when he seemed distracted. He complimented their attire resembling belly dancers but was troubled by the slave collars and shackles they wore. When Ryu asked for their full names, the girls explained that slaves didn't have such names. In summary, Ryu saved Sarah and Rora, who were grateful despite the discomfort caused by his cautious approach. He admired their appearance but was troubled by their status as slaves, learning that they lacked full names due to their enslaved condition. The girls inquire about Ryu's name and he introduces himself formally. He offers to take them to Aru, but they explain they can't leave without their master's permission, leaving Ryu puzzled. They're serious about this constraint, leaving Ryu feeling helpless. He suggests finding their master, but the girls reveal he fled when the bandits appeared, complicating matters. Feeling pressed for time due to pursuit from Shaldina and others, Ryu wants to help but is aware of potential dangers lurking at night. He decides to dispose of the bodies left behind and plans to leave afterward, bidding farewell to the girls. Though he wishes he could do more for them, he heads off, pondering his actions. His departure is short-lived as he realizes he made a grave error. One of the bandits survived. Threatening revenge, the bandit recognizes Ryu's face and vows to return with his cohorts to end him. To make matters worse, he has kidnapped Sarah and is fleeing on horseback. As the bandit escapes with Sarah, Rora tries to call out to her sister but is unable to stop him since he's riding a horse. Ryu, unable to match the horse's speed, drinks a healing potion to recover his strength and rushes to Rora's side. She urgently asks him to cut a small wound on his left pinky finger, leaving Ryu bewildered but pressed for time. He complies and Rora starts a prayer, revealing an unexpected ability beyond physical offerings. Rora uses Ryu's blood to form a contract, making herself Ryu's slave, breaking her previous master's control. This action frees her from her collars and shackles. Feeling uncomfortable being called a master, Ryu grants Rora permission to use her magic. She apologizes for the unusual method and refers to Ryu as her master, seeking approval to use her magical abilities. Ryu consents and Rora calls upon the power of the wind, revealing herself as a skilled magician like Gaietsu. Using a powerful wind-attack, Rora strikes the fleeing bandit and his horse, knocking them down. She then offers her hand to Ryu, suggesting they go rescue Sarah, showing her determination to help. Our hero, accompanied by Rora and Sarah, chases after a bandit who has gotten far ahead of them. Rora, possessing wind powers, uses them to swiftly propel the group forward, impressing Ryu with her abilities. With Rora's help, they reach Sarah almost instantaneously, averting the danger. Overjoyed, Rora embraces Sarah, reuniting the sisters. Amidst this, Ryu is astounded by the incredible distance covered in such a short time and discovers that it was due to Rora's wind magic. Surprisingly, Ryu, despite being skilled in martial arts, wasn't aware of magic's existence in their world. Our hero hesitates, unsure whether to disclose the truth about magic to the girls or fabricate something else. While Rora attends to Sarah, Ryu inquires about the bandit, only to find out that the bandit's legs are trapped under a horse, rendering him immobile. Despite wanting to take action against the bandit, Ryu respects the girls' opinions and seeks their guidance, considering that they suffered the most due to the bandit's actions. To Ryu's surprise, Rora and Sarah defer the decision to him, declaring him their new master and expressing willingness to support whatever choice he makes regarding the bandit. Ryu was surprised to hear this revelation, acknowledging that he now had the company of two lovely girls at his disposal. He wondered about the ways he might utilize this newfound companionship to meet his needs. As he contemplated the future, Ryu pondered the adventures and challenges that lay ahead on his journey, uncertain yet hopeful about the possibilities that awaited him. Please like, share, and subscribe for updates on the next video. Click the bell icon to receive notifications when Part 2 is uploaded. Looking forward to seeing you soon.